Okay, so it is Monday, so that means it's time for your work week weather. So let's head over to Tizen, where our friend Brandon Aydlett with the National Weather Service is standing by. And Brandon, can you tell us about this apparent frigid cold front that's moving through here? Is this the beginning of a new ice age on Guam or what? Because man, it is chilling this
Yeah.
morning.
Does it have anything to do? I hosted something Saturday, Brandon, and there was actually snow in Agatnia, so I don't know if it's related to this cold front, but we'll just leave it to the professionals.
I did see some snow at Micronesia Mall the other day too, so there might be something about it. But really, it's a really good foretaste of what we expect to see more of in the dry season as we head into January, February, and March, where we see these frontal systems come off of Japan. And then the very southern extent kind of drifts down over the Marianas. And it really brings in some much cooler, drier weather. And it's quite pleasant outside for anybody that likes to be outside, have the windows open. It really, it's nice and refreshing. So I like hiking in this type of conditions.
Yes.
But this is about the coldest we're going to get with this shear line that's to the north of us.
Yeah, and of course, okay, so if you're in the military and you just moved here from Guam, this is what we consider cold, right? Which would be like 82. So this is like Siberia for us on Guam.
That's right. So I've been wearing my jacket last night, so it got a little bit chilly, and sometimes I bring in the toboggan, bring in the pants, and you just really had to bundle up when you go outside. It's kind of cold out there.
There you go, thermals, man.
That's right. But let me show you what I'm looking at on the satellite right now, and kind of show you what's kind of in the region. So you see here the Marianas in the center. There's not a whole lot of cloud cover. We have a little bit of higher level cirrus that's kind of pushing off from the developing tropical depression well south of us. But otherwise, we are just in the grips of a solid trade wind pattern. And you see this band of clouds to the north of Saipan. That's what we call the shear line. So winds are kind of just blowing east along this line. And that is typical of these dry season-like shear lines. They just kind of drop down from the north, and then they kind of steady out east to west within the trade wind flow. Sometimes they punch all the way down to Guam. And when they do, it brings in much rainier, wetter weather with sometimes very blustery, gusty conditions and low clouds and just limited visibility. But in this case, I think probably the interaction with the circulation southeast of Yap has helped to increase the easterly winds and has kind of nudged the shear line back to the north. But with that said, for the Marianas, we're looking at a pretty dry, but just a solid trade wind pattern for the next several days. Right now, today, we're still looking at the stronger winds, but they'll edge off just a little bit. But more importantly to our region is we are watching this circulation try to develop. You remember last week I was talking about this band of strong westerly winds south of 5 North, south of Palau and Yap. Mm-hmm. And right now there's nothing expected to develop, but when you have such strong westerlies on the equator, watch out, because that is it's a really good ingredient to put into the mix for any circulations to develop. Lo and behold, 1 week later, we are looking at this system to develop. Now, the JT Joint Typhoon Warning Center, they've had a tropical cyclone formation alert issued for this for about the past 24 hours. That means we're expecting to see some development and possibly becoming a depression within the next day or so. And so we've been talking very closely with Joint Typhoon Warning Center overnight. This big plume of cloud cover, there were some pretty impressive thunderstorms that developed overnight. That is one of those signs we look for overall organization and improved development in the system. So we are expecting to see this thing continue to develop and then continue west-northwest, passing somewhere between Yap and Palau, as probably more likely tomorrow. But both locations and all the surrounding islands, Ulithi, Feist, Nulu, Kayango, I know I am botching the pronunciations for some of those locations. So anybody from the area, please forgive me for that.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate the information about what could be rainy and windy days ahead.
That's right. But Jason, let's go ahead and switch over to the slides.
Gotcha.
And just do a quick run through for those. We do have a number of hazards across the Marianas and also for Yap and Palau. So I will be focusing on just those few areas. But for Guam and the rest of the Marianas, we are still looking at those seas and surf conditions being elevated. So we have small craft advisories for the Marianas and also high surf advisories along north and east facing shores. The shear line has just stalled out to the north of us. But ultimately for this week, we're looking at just kind of a comfortable trade wind pattern that's going to linger for much of the week. The seas, surf, and winds will knock off just a little bit tonight and Tuesday. So it could be just enough for those small craft advisories and high surf advisories to come down. But we're still looking at strong rip currents along east-facing shores for at least through Tuesday afternoon, and that could continue into late week. We're still looking kind of windy. For Micronesia, all of our focus, our concerns, it revolves around the Western Micronesia, as we're seeing that developing tropical depression southeast of Yap. And so we're indicating the possibility of tropical storm conditions for Yap and Palau tonight through Tuesday night. So that would be inclusive of damaging winds exceeding 39 miles per hour, large seas, surf, and possibly some inundation. We could see up to 2 feet of inundation because sea levels are still about a foot above average out there, just with the La Nina pattern we've been in for the past 2 years. Those strong trade winds across the equatorial Pacific are pushing those waters off to the Western Pacific, and we're seeing that kind of general rise from Pohnpei westward. So if you go to our webpage, you will definitely see some pink banners indicating we have a drought information statement for Kapinga Merengue south of Pohnpei, but also the coastal hazard messages for the high surf advisories for the Marianas, for Palau and Yap, and then also the special weather statement. So if we go to the next slide, I've got just a quick little satellite picture that I've annotated some of those hazards. Most of the action is happening at Yap and Palau. Like I said, special weather statement, high surf, small craft advisories. We could see surf approaching dangerous levels of 15 feet for Yap and Palau as this developing depression moves by. Some computer models indicate the possibility of a tropical storm passing through. So anybody in that region should be closely monitoring updated forecast weather statements from both us, their weather service office that we communicate with frequently, and also the emergency manager's offices. And then for the Marianas, small craft advisory and a high surf advisory, just with that typical trade wind pattern. So if we go to the next slide, here's our outlook for the week across the Marianas. Not much changed. It's going to be fairly dry, a typical dry season pattern with dominant easterly trade winds.
I like that.
We're still looking at, it's going to be nice. Looking at 20, 25 mile per hour today, maybe a little bit weaker tomorrow, and then still looking at 15 to 20 miles per hour through the rest of the week. A couple of showers, and these showers will be just kind of short-lived. They're all going to be on the move. Nothing very heavy because this moisture is just very shallow to the lower 10,000 feet of the atmosphere, and it's just not conducive for anything heavy. Sea conditions are going to be fairly choppy with these winds, mainly a east-northeast trade wind swell and those wind waves. So if you have any plans to go out on the boat, make sure you are aware of these sea conditions. Once you head outside from the lee of the islands, get up into the Rota Channel, those conditions are going to be drastically different, and we just don't want anybody to be caught off guard. And so as always, for more information on the latest forecast, come check us out at weather.gov/gum or find us on Facebook under NWS Guam.
Yeah, Brandon, and everything pretty much shaped up and was consistent with what you were saying last week when we had you on, because like I was on Airport Road yesterday coming from, Barragata Heights heading towards Home Depot, and as I was coming down the road, I mean, you could see, because it was so clear and yet the winds were so high, clear as a bell, but I could see all the way to where the Hilton is on Tumon Bay, and you could see like just the sea spray and the waves just kicking up.
That's right. A lot of times when the surf is large, especially like we've had with this north swell the past several days, that will really kick up the salt, and especially on the west side where you're kind of hidden behind the higher part of the island, that salt will definitely stay suspended in the air. So got to watch the vehicles.
Yeah. Otherwise, Chris and I were talking about this earlier when we first started the show, but kind of funky weather yesterday in the sense that like it was really, really good, island Sunday afternoon weather, and then it would rain, crazy for like 5 minutes and then stop, and then maybe a half hour later we'd get stuff off. Is that kind of, oscillation, let's call it, where it's like, it's hot, it's raining, it's hot, it's raining. Is that to be expected
Yeah.
through the end of the year?
That's I think that would be a reasonable expectation. So it's one of those things that we call a kind of a high pop, so a high chance of precip, but just low accumulation. These things are on the move. They're not very heavy, so we're not seeing a whole lot of accumulation. I think yesterday we only had accounted for about 0.05 of an inch of rain. So just a smidgen of rainfall, although that was separated over probably 7 or 8 different passing showers. It's just not amounting to very much, and that's typical of a trade wind shower.
The one thing I liked about it, though, is that people on social media, particularly on Twitter, they can't complain anymore about, oh man, it's too hot, or oh, it's raining too much, because it just changes like 19, 20 times throughout the day. So we got a nice mix.
That's right, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, as always, we wish you guys happy holidays. We want to see some decorations with you, man. What's up with your decoration game?
Well, we got one little tree way back there. In the very back.
Okay.
It's a skinny
Nice.
tree, but I put a lot of my decorating focus in my jogging stroller. So if anybody's ever seen me in Tucson with the lighted stroller, my 3-year-old son, Liam, he loves the light. So we've got probably 300 lights on the stroller. So it's very visible. So be safe, be seen.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah, and I think they could definitely see you coming from Umatic with that many lights.
Oh, and
As
real
long
quick
as the
before
airplanes don't come.
before we let him go, though, Chris, I wanted to share something that Brandon actually shared with me in WhatsApp.
Sure, Jay.
Proof positive, because we had we've had people from the Power Authority come on, and like the energy office and everything. Brandon actually put this on. Was it Facebook or Instagram, Brandon?
This was Facebook probably 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
so my brother and I, we decorated our house in Essen, and we just like to put as many thousands of lights on, and so I guess you got that picture.
Yeah, there we
go. And so go ahead and splash it up. And
so the crazy thing about it,
I think.
Oops, you guys switched to all LEDs, right? You guys have 10,000 LEDs up in the house, and your power bill went down.
The power bill actually went down, and we had those lights on all the time. So we're just fascinated with Christmas lights. We love the ambient lighting. We don't like the harsh single point lights. It's just it's aggravating, especially in the evening.
Yeah.
But we love the ambient Christmas lights, and there we go. I see that on showing up on Facebook now. But yeah, that was we probably not OSHA safe in our house, but we did not have anybody else climbing on that ladder. But we are kind of holding onto the ceiling.
But it looks beautiful, and just proof positive, and that's a lesson learned for all of us and everything, that you can deck the halls without breaking the bank.
That's right, and be safe. But shoot, being up on the roof, putting up lights, always be careful. Watch out for those strong, gusty winds. They can knock you off your balance.
All right, man. Well, certainly, aircraft passing over appreciate all the lights you guys put up too, because they know where Guam is once they pass over your place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Hey, we wish you the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right,
Thank you, Brandon. Brandon Aydlett with Work Week Weather. That's brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Let's go ahead and head over to the NMI now.